Hello, everyone. It is Thursday where we have different random speakers here at the Moira Press, and we are delighted to have Debbie Destefano here to teach us about an elusive topic, which is Chiron. People are always asking me about Chiron in their chart and Chiron this and Chiron that, and I always have to say I don't know much about Chiron, even after 24 years as an astrologer. So I have never I got the book by Zane Stein. It's been sitting in the studio for a long time, and never had time to read it. So I sent it to Debbie, who's another astrology teacher, who's so kindly read the book and is now going to teach us all about Chiron. So that's what we're here today for. So thank you, Debbie. I'll let you take it away.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so let me just see here. Where am I? Hold on a second here. It's a new computer, so I have yeah, let me see here. I'm just trying to get my, get this back to this. You guys know me well enough to know that I have issues with this. Issues. Okay, I'm going to move this over here. Come on now. Nice. Okay, so yes, so we had, I just showed you the main page here, but I wanted you guys, before we just dig into all the meaty stuff about Chiron, I wanted to show you the chart of when it was discovered. So this is the chart of the day it was discovered. It was on November 1st, 1977. Charles Cowell discovered a new celestial body from the Palomar Observatory in California. And it was shortly after that that Zane Stein, he produced an ephemeris for the newly found celestial body that they found. And Zane Stein is responsible for creating the glyph that we know about right up here. It looks like a key with a circle at the bottom. And it is a key, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So yeah, the key glyph is representing Chiron. Chiron is in an applying outside trine with Saturn. Now, here's the thing. First of all, we have to talk a little bit about this. Chiron is in between Saturn and Uranus, okay? And so those are important planets to look at when you're considering how Chiron sits with you. Because, well, I'll show you this. Chiron is considered the bridge between Saturn, which is restriction, right? We know that, and Uranus, which is freedom. And it only seems fitting that the discovery during the freedom-loving 70s was giving way to more conservative generation. And at that time, the New Age healing techniques were in practice. An interesting twist in the discovery of Chiron, Saturn, our fifth planet in our solar system, was visible by the ancient astrologers. And it was about 700 BCE when the Assyrians documented their visions of Saturn. So, these are thousands of years ago, and Saturn was considered to be the last planet in the solar system at that time, until the discovery of Uranus in 1781, around the time of our American Revolution. In mythology, the Pegasus, half man, half horse, or unicorn, was a great teacher, astrologer, healer, warrior, and magician. And since Chiron was half animal and half man, Chiron is associated with wisdom, a combination of animal instincts and humanly learned knowledge. Mm-hmm. So Zane Stein, he wrote some of these, and it's great because, it is confusing if we don't use it and it's a pretty new thing that we're playing with Chiron, even though it was like 51 years ago, and we're having our actual Chiron return based on the fact that it's a 51-year return, right in between Saturn, which is 28, 29 degrees, and you have Uranus, which is at 84, 84, sorry. Yes, Saturn is 28, 29 years, where Uranus is 84 years, okay? Right. So here we have some key words for considering Chiron. Maverick. He loves that one the best, especially on the side of Uranus, Although Saturn is like the reins on the wild horse ride, right? So a maverick is like, someone that's like, and let me explain. I'll read a little bit about what he says about these key words. Okay, the word maverick in itself. Okay, this word came from Samuel A. Maverick, an American pioneer rancher who did not brand his cattle, unlike the other ranchers around him. The word came to mean one who takes a stand apart from his associates, an independent individual who refuses to conform to his own group. That sounds pretty much like Uranus, right?
Yep.
But yeah, it sounds a lot like Uranus. But with Saturn, it's that manifestation of, and pulling it back. So there's kind of like this pull and push with the maverick part of this Chiron. Chiron is like kind of a bit of both of these planets and their archetypes. This is where Chiron differs from both Saturn and Uranus. Saturn wants to uphold tradition and defend traditional beliefs. Saturn creates an us or them division. Uranus can easily get the urge to blow up the very structure of the group. But Chiron, the maverick, neither defends nor overthrows the establishment. Rather, it is apart from it. It just does its own thing, right? Okay. Here's another key words that he uses: healing and whole making. Chiron, okay, is a key opening a door to Saturn's wall, allowing us to enter the doorway into Uranus's world. I love that. I just love that whole, idea that it's a key opening, Saturn's wall, so we could get out of that restriction kind of feel to be able to be free to do what we want to do, right? Yeah, and Saturn can be a protector, okay? So it can be a protector. So you could always go back to Saturn. Chiron kind of goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And we'll talk about that when we get through, when you see it in different charts, how it gets the differences in, even on a mundane level, what happens when you have Chiron closer to Saturn or when it's closer to Uranus, and the things that are going on in the mundane world on that. Common ground. The doorway between Saturn and Uranus is common ground. As a matter of fact, I have another book on this, Barbara Hand Cloud. She calls it the bridge, okay? It's a bridge between the two planets. And that makes sense to me. Yeah, it's like Libra. Okay, I just wanted to show you this again. This is interesting. First of all, you look at this over here, the day that it was discovered, 26 degrees of Sag. That's right near the galactic center, right there. The ruler of the planet, okay, when we talk about rulers, and they're so important, we have Jupiter here. It's exalted in the 7th house in Cancer, and it's conjunct the moon in its ruling sign in Cancer. And what is Chiron doing? Chiron is making a nice sextile to this Jupiter here. And I found it just interesting that Chiron is down here in the 4th house, down at the bottom of the chart, where all these planets are all the way at the top. It's like, it's just taking a view up there going, what's going on over there? I just think Chiron's kind of like checking all these planets out. All the planets are up at the top of the chart at the time when Chiron was discovered. And here it is at 3 degrees Taurus. It does make an opposition to the sun in Scorpio. So there's always that mysterious part about it that we still haven't figured it out. It's something new. It's something exciting. And the other thing is the Jupiter that is the chart ruler here. Okay, the dispositor is the moon. Oh, but we have it also. It's in mutual reception with Oh no, it's not mutually separate. Where was I seeing about that? Okay. Chiron is in a reception with Venus. Venus is in its ruling sign, but Chiron is also in Venus's sign, and I love that. I love that about that. It's like there's something about this that is artistic, musical. There's about art. There's an artistic, component to Chiron.
Debbie, Chiron was discovered 9 days after I was born.
Oh my God,
Just
that's
want you to know.
wild.
I have Chiron at 3 Taurus, and that's it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's really great. So, do you feel Chiron?
I mean, I've never really honed in on it, so I don't know. I would say no, but maybe. I mean, I am kind of a maverick. No, I don't know.
Yeah, you are, and that's good. It's really good. Embrace that. Embrace it. Embrace it.
I don't know if
So,
you're allowed to say you're a maverick. I feel like someone has to call you that, but I was just kind of playing on the words.
you know who you are. That's all. That's good stuff. Um, Personal imperative. He mentions this quite a bit in his book about personal imperative. I really like that because, again, it has that kind of Saturnian yet Uranian kind of flavor where you must do this and you take in charge of who you are. But I want to be free and I want to do this. And you know what? It is kind of like we all are different, but we're all working towards our own individuality. And I think that's what he's meaning by this. A kind of do or die need through Saturn's determination to endure the changes Uranus will serve us. But we all have Uranus in our charts too. So to me, there's this part of us that wants to be unique and wants to be an individual and wants to, um, have that freedom to be who we are. And you have to get extended out there to do that. Maybe it does take us 84 years to figure out who we are, right? But a lot of times we have to take those quarters too. We're gonna be seeing some charts with that. When we're 42 and when we're 21, those are those important dates that have to do with Uranus's cycles, and so we do embrace those. Turning point. He talks about a turning point. And I think that makes a lot of sense too. So the turning point here is, which you could either be good or bad at a time. Well, that's life to me, but definitely is remembered as a period when one's life changed direction in some way or to adjust to some new circumstances. So now this is really interesting. If you guys want to see how Chiron has affected any, when it pops up, if there's a transit to it or something, particularly if it's Saturn or Uranus, and it's coming across by your in some kind of way into your Chiron. See what turning point that was in your life it's being affected by that, right? And then the last ones he has in here is pulling the plug or removing the dam. So to me, that's pretty much the same thing as, this or that with this Chiron thing is what is more. When the plug was pulled, we had an opportunity to learn a great deal about the true nature of what was unleashed. Okay, so that's what he was talking about that. Yeah, I mean, we all talk about it as being the wounded healer but these are more key words that you could think about when you do start working with Chiron. And so keep these in mind when you look at your Chiron and when you see other people's charts if you're doing charts. Just wanted to give you what this looks like in the sky a little bit. Okay, so like we said, Chiron has a 51-year return. However, due to it's such a wonky kind of cycle here. It's like the outside blue circle. Let's go by that first. That's Uranus. And look how close Chiron gets to that at one point. Okay, so here's Uranus, pretty normal. We got Saturn, which is the orange and that's pretty normal. And then you got Chiron, and Chiron is flipping over into, it's actually creating some nodal connections with Saturn's elliptical path right here and right here. When they connect over here, there's some kind of nodal connection here with Saturn. With Uranus, it's kind of like a little kiss, and then it goes and moves on. And then, of course, this is Jupiter's little elliptic path, and then the sun's in the middle here. So I just wanted you to get an idea of how crazy this elliptical path is for Chiron. And so with that being said, okay, oh, by the way, too, yeah. So it stays in the sign of Aries 8.5 years, okay, as opposed to Libra on the other side, 1 3/4 years. So it's totally, yeah. So in between there, and we'll tell you about each of the signs, how long it stays in each of the signs. Do remember that Saturn is 28, 29 years return, and Uranus is 84 return. And so it's right in the middle, 51 years. So, when you're 51 and you get that Chiron, see what happened, see how it's affecting your chart, your life, your path. So here it is in the signs.
Debbie,
Yes.
Can I say something? So a big theme you're saying is that Chiron breaks us between it's like between the Saturn orbit and the Uranus orbit. So it's like it's breaking out of concretization into kind of revolution. Is that
Yeah.
how the healing happens? Is that we're kind of wounded by being limited by in Saturn ways, and then we are healed by kind of breaking free in Uranian ways? Is that the kind of idea?
I think so. I think that's exactly what he's saying about that. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Saturn is heavy. I mean, and a lot of times, a lot of trauma has to do with the restrictions that we've had in our childhood. Uranus allows us to be free. And it's interesting that, even though Chiron was in between both Saturn and Uranus, it took even almost another like 200 years before Chiron was discovered after Uranus. It's like maybe we had to really kind of digest Saturn and Uranus before we could get that maverick in there to say, you don't have to have one or you could progress to the next planet. You could do, that kind of thing. Yeah, it doesn't have to all be Saturn or all Uranus. Chiron is kind of like that direction. It opens that key for us to be able to experience the, and Uranus, people talk about that as being, it's very chaotic and everything. It can be, but I mean, sometimes if you're like stuck in the mud, you want a little chaos. You want a little bit of a, something surprise or something interesting happening. So, yeah, I think that connection that's what Chiron does. And it actually really resonates with the generations that it moves through. And we're going to be talking about that. So Chiron in the signs, that's what we're going to be coming down to. We have in Aries, and Chiron, we're in our actual Chiron return from when it was discovered 51 years ago. Chiron is currently at 22 degrees Aries. And to understand this energy, and I'm just going to tell you, so Stein, he looked at this when he did the Aries. He put in the 2 generations that have experienced this, and it stays in about 8.5 years in Aries. What I did is, because he started that, I'm like, wow, that's brilliant. I did it for all the signs. I did the research as to what was going on in those times and what they have in common, and then what is the healing point? Because we always talk about it being, the wounded healer. Where are we wounded, and how do we heal in each of these signs? So Chiron is currently, like we said, 22 degrees Aries. It started back in the 1920s, also known as the Roaring 20s, and in the 1970s, also known as the Me generation. So what did they have in common? A deep need towards self-expression and uninhibitedness. People born with a Chiron in Aries need to be first at something. Chiron is closer to Saturn, at this time, wanting to be boss of the Mavericks. Okay. So what is the healing point? Learning how to control aggressiveness and coping aggressiveness from other people. Now, I have some charts here. But this was interesting. So I looked up some celebrities who had Aries. Of course, the ones I chose were more in the 70s. Okay. So, but we have here Will Smith. Now, he was born in 1968. But he was at 1 degree Aries, and it's opposing his sun and Uranus. And if you remember back in 2022 when they had the Academy Awards, he was the one who went up to Chris Rock and slapped him in the face. And that is like kind of like a reflection of what that could be like for Chiron and Aries. I've heard that he has that kind of temper, and he is very impulsive that way. His sun is in Libra, and his moon is in Scorpio. So now that Aries, that Chiron, is opposing his sun in Libra, and the ascendant is at 7 degrees Gemini. So it is closer to Saturn. It's at 23 degrees of Aries. So yeah, the Uranus, I don't think I have. Just see if I. Okay, no, I didn't do these two charts. I will be getting to some charts because some of them were really interesting. I didn't want to take up too much time with everybody, each of these people's charts, but if it had something that was really like, I just let it go. Reese Witherspoon, she's another one. She has said that she is proud of her definitive Southern upbringing, being taught to be conscientious. And let me just get this right down here. Conscientious about people's feelings, being polite, being responsible, and never taking for granted what you have in your life. Jupiter conjuncts her Chiron, and Saturn is in a partile square with her Chiron. So, for her, this is kind of like she's using this healing point, learning how to control aggressiveness and coping aggressiveness from other people. So she has taken the high road with that. Taurus. Oh, did you guys have any questions about Aries? By the way, no? Okay. So Taurus. Okay. So when Chiron is in Taurus, for people who have Chiron in Taurus, Stein talks about personal imperatives to have and keep material security. So survival is associated with tangible things they treasure and value, and it stays in Taurus for about 6 years. So from 1927 to 1933, that was the Great Depression. The people lacked a lot of basic needs at that time. 1976 to 1984. Now, this was a time of financial growth. Maybe we learned something from the 1930s. Maybe. What do they have in common? Financial and material security. We have to wait to see what happens in the 2030s, and we'll really kind of connect the dots when that happens. The healing point, people who have Chiron in Taurus feel no one should be deprived of the necessities of life. They will be focused on solving problems in the material world. Does anybody have here Chiron in Taurus? I didn't ask about Aries.
I do.
No? You do? Yeah.
12th
That's
house.
right.
Opposed Mercury.
Oh, wow. You little rebel. Yeah. Well, celebrities.
Well. Can you hear me?
That?
I said I do as well, and it opposes.
Oh, it's so great to see from you.
It opposes Uranus in my chart. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know about you. You're a kick-ass kind of girl too. You know. Some celebrities who have Chiron in Taurus. Emily Blunt. I don't know if you know who she is, and she's an actress. She was born in 1983. She was very shy. Did you guys ever see what's that one with
Devil
oh
Wears
my God.
Prada.
Yes,
She was in that. She was great in that.
she was great in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the worst part. That was really great. But believe it or not, she's very shy and awkward as a child, and she had difficulties with stuttering. And P.S. Mercury at 12 degrees Aquarius in a wide opposition to Chiron at 22 degrees Taurus. I still will take that into consideration because it's relative to what happened to her when she was a child. Her Mars is at 28 degrees Pisces. It sextiles her Chiron. Mars and Pisces can be very shy. You don't know how to express your, emotions or your passionate emotions. It's hard for you with that in Pisces, and it sextiles her Chiron. And that, in which case, that might have been the key to, especially with the sextile, an opportunity to open up a different way of expressing herself, which can influence her to tread lightly and stay in her comfort zone too. So that was her. And then we're going to be talking about, what's his name? Benedict Cumberbatch. I thought this was interesting, and I actually did his chart here because I want to there's some interesting points in his chart. Do you guys know who Benedict Cumberbatch is? He's an actor.
Yeah, he's an actor. I know him for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. His ancestors for the past 200 years owned properties in Barbados, the West Indies, which has been passed down to the ownership to each incoming generation. The Cumberbatch family was known as one of the richest families in Britain. So now he has this fixed T-square with Mercury, Venus, and Saturn all in Leo. Okay, you see that's the apex right there. Mm-hmm. Venus, Saturn. And by the way, you see how Venus and Saturn are in a partile conjunction here?
Yeah.
Okay, money and property. And I say property because Saturn rules the fourth house down here in Capricorn. So here's the apex of that T-square, okay? And with Chiron, of course, Chiron on this side, and Uranus on the other side. So I just think that that's a fascinating combination, and that how it all connects to the ancestral the ancestral properties that they own. It just keeps going from each, and it would be very interesting to see all his ancestors, where their chart is and how that connects with that. But I had to show you that because I just thought that was very interesting. And Chiron, of course,
it's a great name.
What was that?
That's a great name, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I know. It stands out, doesn't it? It's really wild. Yeah, so that was pretty interesting. I just thought that was interesting. Chris Pratt, here's another one. I just love this so much. Okay, so his Chiron is over here in the 7th house too. It's in Taurus. I love it. When his wrestling coach asked him what he wished to do with his life, he said, "I don't know, but I know I'll be famous and I will make a shit ton of money."
Yeah.
And I really think that really resonates with that Chiron in Taurus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy, and it's
So yeah, that was that one. Okay, Gemini. Anybody have Gemini? Any Chiron in Gemini? No. Okay.
JC, where's your Chiron?
Pisces before Aries.
Oh, okay. You gotta wait.
67.
Yeah.
We'll get to Pisces. I promise we'll get to Pisces. Chiron in Gemini is all about communication. And the wound comes from communication failures, breakdowns, or obstacles. So it stays in Gemini for about approximately 4 years. So the generations that had that, 1933 to 1938, the Great Depression, still riots and persecutions leading to the Holocaust, and Roosevelt closes bank, freezing finances. Now, I couldn't find a whole lot about this, but I actually think that there was probably a lot of depression. Not just, I mean, we call it the Great Depression, but this was at the end of the Depression, and it had to be riots. That's that could be a Gemini thing. People are trying to express themselves through their word in desperation, and closing the banks and freezing finances. I think at this point it's almost like there is a breakdown in some sort of communication with that. 1984 to 1988, worldwide disasters, Chernobyl, space shuttle explosion, and people went to the movies to forget their problems. I don't know what people did in the 1930s. Maybe they went to, local plays or whatever. But this is people, they just need to get out and not have to, get their head mixed up with all the terrible things that were going on. What did they have in common? Lack of face-to-face communication toward respectful resolutions. Saturn and Uranus are conjoining during this time. Healing point, per Zane Stein, he wrote this: it is an imperative for learning new ways of thinking, new ways of problem solving. Chiron in Gemini is always testing to see what limitations their immediate environment puts on them and others. So, okay, I have two charts here. Well, I have one chart, but this one is interesting. I didn't do a chart for this person, but I thought it was interesting. Haley Joel Osment. Do you guys know who that is?
Yes.
Jessica, you're my movie person. You
He's
always
in
know.
the Sixth Sense, right?
You're right. That's
See
right.
that? And then it was also in Forrest Gump. He played Tom Hanks's little boy.
Yeah. But I that's what I started his career in Hollywood in the Sixth Sense, and opted to leave Hollywood in 2007 to focus on his education. So I thought that was interesting. Sun at 20 degrees Aries sextiles his Chiron in Gemini, and then he had a North Node at 21 Pisces squaring Gemini in his Chiron in Gemini. Here's something. The next one I have a chart on is Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga. Okay, so she is known. Let me see where her Chiron is. Let's look at her Chiron. Let's just Google and just look at her. It's in Gemini here in the 12th house. Known for her image reinventions and versatility through the entertainment industry. She studied music at NYU and improved her songwriting skills by writing essays on art, religion, social issues, and politics. Chiron is in a mutable T-square with Jupiter at 8 Pisces, up at the top here, and as the apex, and squaring Chiron at 10 Gemini. Okay, and we have on the other side Saturn. So that's interesting. It looks like it's not a T-square, but it definitely is a T-square. It's a mutable T-square with Jupiter at the apex, and you have Chiron and Saturn opposing one another. Now, what do you think that means about her? You guys know Lady Gaga, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She broke barriers with the way she disguised herself. She had two-face, right? When she first came out, you didn't see her face.
Wow.
She would wear makeup that would cover her whole face.
Oh,
and I
okay.
think that,
Right.
yeah, she didn't think that she was attractive enough, or maybe she was told by, certain people in the industry, which can be cruel, that she wasn't, pretty enough to do this stuff. So she found her way to do this by hell or high water. Uh, yes, it was intended, pun intended on that one with the water. But anyway, yeah, so she made it through that way. Cancer. Anybody have Cancer?
Debbie, I'm the time checker, so we have 20 minutes left. Just
Okay, so we'll
pressure,
go
I'm
through
just
these.
time checking.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go through this a little more quicker.
This is
So,
great, by the way. I love this.
oh, good.
Yeah, I love it.
I hope everybody's enjoying it, you know.
Yeah,
I
I'm
hope-
enjoying it. I
Yeah.
forgot about the time. Shoot.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we'll move on. So Chiron in Cancer, security, right? The wound being a lack of security can create defensiveness and even fight or flight triggers in the sign. Stays in that sign for 3 years. It's getting tighter. There's not as many people in these, with these. 1938 to 1941, Nazi Germany, annexation of Austria, invasion of Poland, and Jews fled from their homes to avoid Nazi control. Europe and USA face refugee crisis. 1988 to 1991, Federal Fair Housing Act enacted to provide extended federal protection against housing discrimination. What do they have in common? Protection of home and family at any cost. The healing point, it is an imperative to learn to control their emotions. Having memories of past intense emotions can be helpful in teaching future generations in the family dynamic. It's all about healthy relationships with home and family. Emma Stone has it. This is an interesting one. She did I do a chart for her? I don't think I did. No, I didn't do any charts for that. Emma Stone. She's that actress. She's amazing. Chiron at 6 degrees 51 Cancer. Starting at the age of 7, she developed a severe anxiety disorder based on separation from her mother when she went to school. And please take note that at the age of 7, that also involves the transiting Saturn being in its first quarter to the natal chart. So there was this kind of anxiety that she didn't want to be away from her mother, and that is definitely a Cancer, Chiron and Cancer situation. Liam Hemsworth, he was born in Austria, and his natal north node is at 17 degrees Aquarius. He moved to the United States at his nodal return in 2008, and the transiting Chiron was conjunct his nodal return. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Leo, major key lesson for Chiron in Leo is to check their self-reliance. The wound being the challenge of taking advice. Boo-hoo. That's not good. Okay, so that it stays in about 3 years. What was going on? 1941 to 1943, World War II at its peak. Aggressive war games, brutal attacks, and counterattacks. Who's in charge? 1991, 1993. End of Cold War and Gulf War. A rise in grunge music. Hip-hop music reaches mainstream success. And USA won the first Women's World Cup of soccer. What do they have in common? These two generations reveal they cannot stand any restriction on their self-expression and will endure the pain of doing it their way. The healing point? To use their childlike, unique, creative twist to do what they know how to do and to joyfully share it with others. Oh, this is great. Christopher Walken. You know who Christopher Walken is? Please say you know who he is.
Of course. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Conjuncting his North Node and his Mars in Aquarius opposes his Chiron. He has won a good number of awards and nominations and has grossed over $1 billion in his acting gigs. Now, what I want you to do is, when you get a chance, I want you to check out Walken. If you've never seen this, it's hilarious and it's amazing. Walken on YouTube doing the Fat Boy Slim Dance. It is
Okay.
It is hilarious. Okay, Fat Boy Slim Dance, Christopher Walken. Just check it out. You'll understand that yes, his Chiron is in Leo. He really knows how to really express himself. The other person is Freddie Highmore. I don't know if you know who he is. He played the Good Doctor. And a couple other things. I really like him. He was born in London. At age 12, his first role was Finding Neverland. Highmore. Okay, this is great. This is actually really Chiron and Leo. He quoted after he left the set. He was playing Finding Neverland. Highmore. He was quoted after he left the set. I was quite upset because I thought I wouldn't see Johnny Depp again. He really wanted to go. And he also stated that he would have a dressing room demands because he was a spoiled brat insisting on having a table, chair, and lighting.
Debbie, can I ask you a question? So is the formula kind of for everyone watching that you take the kind of not worst parts of the sign, like where Chiron lives, you can say like you're wounded by, like with Gemini, it was like wounded by communication problems and healed by, or you end up being a healer in terms of communication. Then in Leo, wounded by pride problems, you become healing. So it's like the formula is to say we're wounded by the worst parts of the sign, and then we are healing people with the best parts of the sign. Is that kind of?
Yes.
That's great, actually.
Yeah, I really do think that that's what it is all about. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Let's move forward. Virgo. The wound of Chiron in Virgo is the need for perfection, no doubt. And that stays in 2 years. Okay. Thank God. Whew. Okay. 1943 to 1945. Rosie the Riveter. Women serving the U.S. war, working in factories and shipyards. Vaccines were developed. Joseph Mengele, Angel of Death, doing medical experiments on twins in the balsamic phase of World War II. 1993 to 1995, the fall of the drug lord Pablo Escobar, rise of internet and technical changes. O.J. Simpson's trial of the century. Not sure why that fits in there, but anyway, it does. I think it was shocking. He just seemed like he was okay, but he wasn't.
Yeah, like he was kind of the golden boy, right? As a football player, then he was an actor, Yeah.
And now he's in jail, or I don't know if he's still in jail, but whatever.
He's dead now.
Okay. Yeah. I don't keep up with the news there.
He went.
What, Jessica?
What's that?
He went to one of the levels of hell.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. So what did they have in common? Awareness. There is wrongs in the world, and there is an imperative to correct the errors, righting the wrongs. I have a friend of mine who has Chiron and Virgo in her first house, and she's always talking about the wrongs in the world. I laughed when I saw it because I like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, the healing point, letting go of fixations, minding your inner strength through Saturn physically so you can relax through the changes of Uranus mentally. Yoga is a good, right, AJZ? Yoga is a good.
Always for everything.
Yeah. Chevy Chase was, this is interesting. You know Chevy Chase, right? He was part of one of the originals of SNL. So here is an example of a shadow of Chiron in Virgo. As a child, he was severely abused physically and psychologically by his family members. Being Chiron only stays in Virgo for 2 years, Chevy had to endure more abuse when Chiron reaches the square of his natal Saturn at 26 Gemini, the traditional ruler for Aquarius, and his 4th house, around 1 year old. He was smart, though, and he graduated as valedictorian from Stockbridge School and later became one of the original cast members of Saturday Night Live. Yeah. Jim Morrison, you know who he is, right? Famed singer, songwriter, and poet, lead singer of the Doors rock band. His Chiron at 15 degrees Virgo squares the midpoint between his Saturn at 23 degrees Gemini and Uranus at 6 degrees Gemini. It's exact. Let me see here. His Chiron is at 15 degrees. Yep, 15 degrees. Squares. Oh, it squares the midpoint. So the midpoint between Uranus and Saturn, it's Uranus and Saturn, somewhere over here. Chiron is making that square to that point right there. Those midpoints are, right, Jay-Z, we talked about this. The midpoints are really important because they're another connector. They connect two planets that you normally would not say that, oh, they're not really, connecting. No, they are. They're connecting through that connection right there in the midpoint. So that's that. There's more, but let's go to the next thing. Okay.
You should have a
Libra.
part 2.
Huh?
Yeah,
I could do a part
two.
two.
We could do a part two.
Well, part 2 was houses, but I know I have a lot of meat and potatoes on this.
We
So,
want to hear it. I want to hear it.
Me too.
We could do a part 2. I mean, we would just have to schedule it. It's up to you.
oh, I'm okay with that. That's good with me. I could actually add more content too then.
You could
That'd
just
be
get as
lovely.
far as you can get by 5, and then we could pick up on part 2 with the rest of the signs and then the houses.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I could do
Thank
that.
you. Thank you for my brilliant idea.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. So, okay, Libra, lack of fairness, justice, and balance is the wound for Chiron in Libra. It only stays in Libra for about 1.5 years. What was happening 1945 to 1946 is when it was in Libra. World was grappling with the aftermath of World War II. The United Nations was established. Okay, 1995 to 1997. Remember, in mundane astrology, Libra, 7th house, is all about the people. In 1995 to 1997, the Bosnia War, religious, political, between the Serbs and Croatians, ended by the backing of NATO peace agreement. Hong Kong was released by British rule and handed over to China. So what did they have in common? Both generations were endeavoring to achieve peace and balance. The healing point, healing their souls through aesthetic pleasures as an integral parts of their lives, the arts, music, self-balance, and peace. I have, let me see, this is an interesting thing. I have 2 people here because it was only 1.5 years so they were born on the same year. Liza Minnelli was born March 12th, 1946. Freddie Mercury was born September 5th, 1946. But there's something very, very, very interesting about the difference between them. 2 different, very personalities, right? Liza Minnelli and Freddie Mercury. Within the same year, nearing the end of Chiron and Libra, Liza's Chiron was closer to a Chiron-Saturn connection, which represents conservative childhood, needing to take care of her mother, that kind of thing. Whereas Freddie Mercury's Chiron was closer to that square with Uranus. He was a poster child for doing whatever he wanted to do, and he did it. So you could see here, okay, so where's her Chiron here? Oof. Okay, right here. So Chiron is, you see the Uranus is way over here, but there's this square with Saturn and Chiron right here. And
Can
then
I ask you a question? Sorry.
Sure.
I'm the interrupter. So with the maverick concept, what is a maverick anyway? I just want to look it up, because it's like, I like that term. I've never heard that term for Chiron, but I feel like my clients.
I feel like a maverick is kind of like an iconoclast. Like they go against the grain in terms of being creatives and
yes, they stand alone. It's very similar to like a Uranian kind of feel.
Yeah, and it's Uranian energy for sure.
And aren't they the first ones to do it?
Yes, the first one. That's a great. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, they're like the first. They show up like Freddie Mercury. He was a standout, and his was closer to the Uranus. But with her, here's the thing: when you have it, she has this square to the Saturn, and it's in Cancer. She was stuck. She wanted to do more. I mean, when she was on the stage, she just poured her heart out, and that's where her maverick part came out. But she was restricted by that square with her mother, always having to take care of her mother.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's an unorthodox or independent-minded person. So what's it like to be a maverick in certain signs? I think we're talking about Chiron and Virgo right now. Is that true?
Or Libra.
No,
Libra.
this is Libra. Yeah.
So what would Chiron in Libra be? Like, what's a maverick about Libra things? What's that look like?
I think this is Freddie Mercury he's the poster child for this Chiron in Libra, because it does have the connection, and that is the one thing that Zane Stein really does underscore, is that it has to do how connected it is to either Saturn or Uranus. And here they're in the same, they're only 6 months apart. And the influence of the Saturn with her Chiron is much more stronger than his. So there's always like this, it's either that you are bursting forward and you're going to be an individual and you have no, there's nothing holding you back, or you want to break through and you can't because you're being held back.
Right.
With Saturn. Does that make sense, Andy?
Yeah.
I was just kind of like trying to get, because like my job here is the kind of this person who runs the school, so like just kind of make sure that all the students who are listening kind of get the meat of the lesson. And so it's like I want to know, how is being a maverick in Virgo ways different than being a maverick in Libra ways? Or like how is being a maverick in Leo ways different than being a maverick in Virgo ways? I mean, maybe that's, but
I think that's fair to ask that. And like, so when we talk about that, it's letting for a Virgo, it's not going to be the same as Libra or Leo. Leo is like, just like here, the healing point. The healing point, I think, is about being the maverick, letting go of fixations. You're going against the grain of who you are in a Virgo. Virgo is a perfectionist. But when you're talking about the healing point, that's the Uranian part of it. That's to me the part that's where you are a maverick. Like I'm going against this whole need that I have to be a perfectionist. I'm not going to be a perfectionist anymore. I'm going to
you could become like do the details your own way, where you're like, almost like that's you're like, I feel wounded by this need to be perfect, and like I'm going to go maverick on perfection and just be like, I'm perfect in my own way. Is that kind of what it looks like?
Yeah, that could be like that too. Or let's look at Leo, so it's like, they have to, they're, first of all, they're self-reliant, but they're kind of bossy. They kind of have to be out in the front of everything, everybody. I'm telling you, look at that thing with Christopher Walken. It's
also,
hilarious.
I have a really great one that I love who has Leo Chiron. His name is Hassan Piker. I don't know if anybody knows who saw, but he's like a political commentator, and he streams on this platform called Twitch. It's a gaming platform. He embodies this to me if you look him up, because I mean, the way he streams almost every day. He streams for like 8 hours, and the way he's able to parse politics and connect with the audience is wild. So it's when I was thinking about Leo and Chiron, I'm thinking about him because he has it conjunct his sun and his descendant, and it's opposed Saturn. Like it's
and if go and find anybody who has Chiron in Leo, see where it is between the Saturn and the Uranus. That stuff is really important, because it's always going to be, wherever it is, it's going to be closer to either Saturn, or it's going to be closer, and it could be a square, it could be any kind of aspect, but one's going to be closer than the other, and that is going to be some influence of how that particular sign in Chiron is going to be.
Interesting. Well, that's a good place to halt. We don't want to miss the word of what you're saying. This is so awesome, Debbie. I mean, I feel like I have 10 things I can say to clients now, and they're like, what about my Chiron? I'll be like, well, it's a maverick. Like, okay, so I'm ready. Thank you so much for doing this.
I want the book.
I so love doing it.
What's the book, y'all?
Oh, the book. Okay, so wait, I hate this one. Okay.
You can
so it's Zane. All right, yeah, I guess I could put it in.
No, tell everyone, because it's on camera. A View from
yeah.
Chiron by Zane Stein, right?
Let me look at it.
Yes, Zane Stein. And it's essence and application of you from Chiron.
You know, Zane Stein is one of my Facebook friends.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So we should actually talk about it on my Facebook wall and see if Zane Stein shows up.
You
Oh,
know
nice.
what? My very, very, very first astrology teacher, I mean, my very first one, he was good friends with Zane.
Oh my God, you're on a first name basis with Zane. All right, let's get Zane in on this.
Yeah, why don't you get him to help?
We don't
Why
need his
don't you
help because Debbie's a
interview
great
him?
teacher, but I just mean we should
Oh,
talk
thank
about it
you.
on the wall and be like, we're learning about this book, and we should post a picture of the book and then see if he shows up.
Yeah. Right?
All right.
Debbie can interview him.
Oh my God, that would be
Oh
awesome.
gosh.
That could be part 3.
Awesome.
Okay, so Debbie, when we hang up, I'm going to email you to get part 2 on the schedule, okay?
Yes, yeah, I'm so excited about this. Thank you so much, Andy. Thank you for all you guys coming up, and we'll see you soon.
All
This
right,
is
bye.
fantastic. Thank you
Bye.
very much, everybody.